As a lot of you may know, I recently dropped a video as to why strategists are probably going to need some tweaks in the near future. Now, I stand by that, but it got me thinking. Even if that gets resolved, it's sort of like 3-card Monty, the issue's just being shifted around. If you knock defense, offense is automatically better, but improved offense automatically necessitates stronger defense to compensate. Are you seeing where this is going? You take one step forward, then another forward, then you're up to 4 steps, and then you just start walking, but turns out you've been going in a circle the whole time, and you end up right where you started. I'm not sure there's a way in which you can ever fully balance one of these games. Now, I think there's ways that we can get pretty close, and I'll get to those later, but today is mostly about why balancing is so difficult. A lot of people think that they have an easy fix, and some of those I will address today, or at least the popular ones that I've seen. But often those same people discover if their fix was employed, it would be a disaster. It's like communism with less breadlines and mass graves. It only works theoretically. By the way, if any of you are thinking to yourself in this moment, I will never need to know this. I'm not affected by meta compositions and whatnot. I'm low rank. I don't play very well anyway. I fully understand your sentiment. Listen anyway. It is best to treat high-rank players kind of like shamans, or you can at least treat them like guinea pigs if you don't want to give them that respect. You see, if there is something strong or unbalanced, they will be the ones to find it, and they're going to find it first. You want to know what they're going to do then? They will work to perfect that thing. Why does that matter to you? Well, because they are still playing the same game. Whatever they are doing, eventually it does trickle down to you. It's like the opposite of Reaganomics. It's actually happening. And just because they are discovering things early does not mean those things won't apply to you all the same in time. The players trying on your end may be worse, so the high skill techniques are barred off for a bit longer, but most of the time it's not even about high skill. Most are searching for a way to perform a task in the easiest manner possible and to exploit that to the ends of the earth. Anybody can leverage that, from bronze all the way up to eternal. So, simple starter question here, probably the biggest shared sentiment across all games that I've ever talked about in regard to balance on this channel. Why not buff everything all the time? Well, think of it like an arms race building up to mutually assured destruction. I have a stick, you have a club. Now that would put you above me in terms of power, but I could be better at stick wielding, so I still have somewhat of a chance, but I don't want to be at a disadvantage, so I upgrade my sticks. Now I have an atlatl and you're on the side of a disadvantage. Well, you don't want to be at a disadvantage just like I didn't want to, so you upgrade from a club to a bow and arrow. We go back and forth with this shit until we get to firearms. Now we both have rifles, different platforms, sure, but rifles nonetheless, and good rifles too. Not military grade, big money defense contractor grade, the real shit, the good ones that won't break when you're using them. So where does that leave us? Well, whoever lands the first strike kills the other. That's not good. We already had a game like that. It's called CSGO, and it was fucking boring. And if your retort to that is, well, CSGO is popular. My friend, so is Taylor Swift, and given the option between your rifle and one of her albums, I prefer you just pull the trigger. But what if you upgrade yourself not to one-up me, but instead to directly counter me? Well, unfortunately, the same shit happens. I get a stick, you put on armor. I get a heavier stick, you get a shield. I make broadheads to punch through the armor, you make a shield out of stronger metal. I get a handgun, you get Kevlar and ceramic plates. I get a tank, you get a concrete bunker that weighs several tons. Same shit happens, it just happens in a different direction. If you buff everything in the way of offense or defense, there's only 2 possible endings. Nobody ever dies, or everybody instantly dies all the time. Those both suck, pretty sure we can all agree on that one. It's better to try to keep it a little even. One good fix for this that I've mentioned before is just adding more characters, but it's simply not a logical solution right now. Introducing that much variety does make it incredibly difficult to nail down one overpowered playstyle, but like I said, we're going to take that up later. Now, you were partially right in thinking that counters were the start to a solution, but you need to be careful. There's always going to be some aspect of rock, paper, scissors in these games. What do I mean by that? Well, some characters on a baseline level are suited to be better than others. What you can't do is make a brain-dead instant win character to shut down another regardless of skill input, but you can make it so that skilled players on scissors can beat rock once in a while. It's also important that you keep all three in rotation without letting one become the prevailing choice. I will provide with you an example. At a baseline level, meaning two players of the same skill against one another, Iron Fist will beat Mantis. However, if the Mantis is capable, she has the ability to answer the challenge of the Iron Fist. This might not mean killing him, but it does mean surviving the interaction. She's still at a disadvantage in the matchup, but she still has a chance against anyone with her defensive ability to at least get away. As a side note, that's why a lot of people really struggle when playing Adam Warlock. Well, that and the fact that they can't aim. When they get hit with dive, they don't have the standard runaway or stun ability that the other supports do. I still think it's weird as fuck that he's not allowed to fly given who Adam Warlock is, but anyway, moving on. I don't think I have to say the inverse method of nerfing everybody is a bad idea as well. If I wanted to fight someone with sticks and rocks, I would talk shit about Haiti. And if you thought that was mean, I thought it was funny. That's why I'm happier than you. Another popular solution, or the other popular solution that I've seen bumping around, is reworking characters. We don't want to do this, and we don't want to do it for several reasons. First of all, reworks take a ton of effort and resources. Effort and resources that can be better allocated into making a new character. As a developer, you don't want to waste that unless you absolutely have to. It also provides complications and a little bit of controversy for the player base. Think about it. Let's use Black Widow as an example, pretty much as far away from a fan favorite as possible. Do you want to know who will be upset over a rework for her? The current Black Widow players. They had a character that they got familiarized with and enjoyed changed on a fundamental level. It also throws a rock at everyone who is currently trying to learn that character, having to begin from scratch. Now sometimes it is absolutely necessary, but you want reworks to be a last resort because it means you fucked up a character from its inception, like drinking during a pregnancy. Yes, I know it was only 2, but those were still the most overwhelmingly popular sentiments that I've seen in regard to balancing this game that were worth talking about. The rest are kind of just, well, they're dumb as shit, and I've decided that I'm going to finish this video on a positive note by actually explaining how to improve balance in a pretty easy way. Let's rewind all the way back to me saying you can fix nearly, if not all of this game's balance issues by adding characters. Here's why. The development team here is incredibly creative in terms of character design. The more characters that are added to the game, the more layered it will get. With that added complexity, team structures and counterpicking are like my ex on her 4th glass of wine. Refreshingly flexible. If you need a frame of reference or another example, look at it this way. The fight-stopping ultimates for certain supports can only be shut down with a high burst damage ultimate. We see that as a problem now because there's not many. But in time, something like that would seem incredibly manageable. And fortunately enough, I've got good news for you. The development team of Marvel Rivals has said they would like to release a new character every half season. That's about 6 weeks apiece. With that being said, I think that's all I have to say, so I'll leave the floor to you. Do you think there needs to be balance changes? How would you go about balance changes? Is it hopeless? Just how do you feel about it? I was going to rant about how interesting albinism is and its occurrence across different species, but then I started yelling about invasive species and I had to cut that part out. It started to run pretty long. I don't recall if I mentioned this last time, but I might be giving history lessons on certain Marvel characters in the future. Some of my Warhammer fans might recall such a thing, or a similar thing, rather. Don't quote me on that, it's just a strong maybe. One thing you can quote me on is doing a little branching out to different games in the near future. We're gonna have a good time with it. In any case, if you would like to join the Discord server, it's linked in the description for those of you old enough. Have a good night.